The Ragin Cajuns had a great day for all their sports teams that played on Saturday. Let's talk about it here on Ragin Rundown. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another episode of Ragin Rundown, the show where you'll know everything that's going on in UL athletics all in one place. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you can always call me Fitz. Before we get started, please do me a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, share this video, and drop a comment down below. It may seem small, but that is going to continue to help to grow this channel and get more Ragin Cajun fans just like you to be able to watch the content that we're producing. If you're listening on the podcast side, make sure you follow the feed, rate the show, and leave us a review as well. And in today's episode, we're talking about multiple sports. Men's basketball picks up a victory. Women's basketball picks up a victory. Softball continues to play extremely well throughout the entire weekend at the Louisiana Classic. And so we're going to begin with men's basketball, who played in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge and took on a Central Michigan team that came to the Cajundome in front of the largest crowd since the season opener, with a little over 3,100 fans packing into the Cajundome on Saturday. Louisiana would pick up the 85-80 victory, moving them to a now 4-game win streak, which when you talk about playing basketball and peaking at the right time, this is the perfect thing that you're wanting to do. So let's go over the game flow and how things all shaped out for you. So this game was very back and forth, and I feel like this is kind of a theme that we're seeing progressively throughout the season for the Cajuns and a lot of the games that they're playing. It was back and forth and very close. You had a 33-32 lead at the 5:42 mark. But then Central Michigan went on a 10-0 run. They took a 42-33 lead at the 128 mark there towards the end of the first half. And then before recess, Karris Bilal hits a three-pointer. Todd Jones gets a dunk, and you're down 4 at recess, 42-38. Karris Bilal had 9 points in the first half. Todd Jones had 10 points in the first half. So you get to the second half. The Chippewas are up 53-45 at the 15-minute mark. Then Darius Woodson hits 2 triples. That makes it 55-52. Skipping ahead in the game, you're down 61-59 at the 10-minute mark. At the 8-minute mark, Dorian Finister hits a three-pointer. Devion Lavergne hits a 3 after that. You take the lead 65-63 at the 8-minute mark thereafter. So I may have gotten it wrong. But thereafter, 65-63. And after that, you never gave the lead back, and you were able to win the game 85-80. Like we've said before, and as we all know, basketball is a game of runs, and this was another perfect example of the Cajuns trying to stay close in different instances of the game and then striking when they had the opportunities to, whether that was Darius Woodson hitting three-pointers, Dorian Finister, Todd Jones, Karris Bilal, so on and so forth. So a lot of players were able to be successful throughout this game and ultimately lead to you picking up the victory in the end of the game. So looking at the final box score, Devion Lavergne led all scorers for you with 19 points. You had Karris Bilal to finish with 16, which is a career high for him. Todd Jones had 15, which is also a career high for him. Dorian Finister had 10. Jackson Olvera had 11. And then Darius Woodson gave you 14 off the bench. So you had 6 players to score in double figures. And you really can't get any better than that, because obviously your primary suspects, as we've talked about before, have been Dorian Finister and Devion Lavergne. Dorian didn't have his best night. He shot 3 of 10 from the floor. He still got 10 points and had 4 fouls, and was able to contribute you with 8 assists, actually, and then also 5 rebounds as well. But not every night he's going to go out and score 20 points. And so because of that, even when he's able to help get other players off, like a Todd Jones Jr., like a Karris Bilal, like a Darius Woodson, that helps you to be able to pull out games just like this one. You had 11 turnovers in this one, and, you still had some turnovers from your guards. Dorian had 3, Devion had 4, but ultimately you were able to pull out this game down the stretch, which is what the name of the game is at the end of the day. So you go on now a 4-game win streak, and it puts you in a position now that if you can handle business next week when you play Coastal Carolina, which we'll talk about them in just a second, now you're positioning yourself to be one of those top 4 teams potentially there in the league to close out the regular season. So a couple of takeaways from this game, obviously, the scoring collectively that took place in this game. When you're able to get multiple guys scoring in double figures or just contributing on the scoreboard, putting the ball through the hoop as well, that helps a ton. You know, Quantas White is a defensive first coach, but when you are able to have good defensive moments and also can complement that with guys scoring the basketball at a high volume, that always allows you to be in a good position. And Coach Q talked about that after the game.
It's really satisfying, and I think it just makes us a better team when you don't have to depend on one guy to score. You know, the stat that I'm most impressed with is the offensive rebounding. You know, Todd Jones getting 5, Jackson O'Vera getting 3 offensive rebounds when we needed it. You know, I talked to our guys about trying to find different ways of winning. You know, if you only focus on the ball going through the hole and that's the only way you can win, what happens when you start losing games? And so, I mean, you're not shooting well. You got to find different ways to win, and so this team is buying into rebounding. You know, I thought our defense was better in the second half. I didn't like our defense the first half. And so we just got to continue to be consistent. But, again, I'm so proud of these guys, and, you know, I can't say enough good things about them.
So the second thing that comes from this game is just being able to be playing good basketball at the right time. It's February. March Madness is right around the corner, so that means conference tournaments, and then obviously the NCAA tournament as well. Teams don't want to just be playing good basketball at the beginning of the season in November and early December. You want to be playing great basketball at the right time. Louisiana is now on a 4-game win streak. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. 6 of their last 10 games, and they are 6-6 in the conference and 9-16 overall. Obviously, early on, things weren't great. They were on a 10-game losing streak. The California trip was rough for them. They lost Jamiron Keller. They lost Sean Elkington. They've lost Josh Lewis. But despite all of that, this team has been able to continue to find ways to win basketball games, which, again, is the name of the game. And the guys recognized that as well when they talked about it after the game.
I think it's just a matter of growth. I mean, this is a whole new team, new coaching staff, new everything. So a lot of things take time. Like, great things take time. So, and I think we're peaking at the right time. So this is great for us. And as players, it's something you look forward to. You want to peak in January or February and not November, December, I mean, so.
Yeah, we're all playing really good basketball at the right time, and this is when you want to play your best. You know, our goals remain the same. We want to try to finish first in the league. We got a huge game coming up on next Thursday against Coastal. Got to take one game at a time, but it's good. This is when you want to play your best, you know, when you're fighting for something and also preparing for the conference tournament. So it's been our goal all along, but, you know, we got to continue to improve at practice and stay hungry.
So next up for Louisiana is a matchup on February the 12th. That is a Thursday at 7 p.m. inside the Cajundome against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, who are currently sitting in 5th place. They are tied for 5th with Texas State in the Sun Belt standings. They are 15-11 overall, 7-6 in the conference, and they have won 7 of their last 10 games. And at one point, were on a 5-game win streak. And so this is very much going to be a toss-up type of game because you're 6-6 at home, and Coastal Carolina is 7-7 on the road. So this could be anybody's game when it comes to Thursday night. The Cajuns will be, you know, looking at a talented team that has the ability to score the basketball. Their leading scorer, Joshua Beadle, is averaging 16.3 points per game, followed by A.J. Dantzler, who averages 15.2, and then Rashid Jones, who's averaging 14.7. So those are the 3 guys that are going to kind of be your primary scorers for the Chanticleers. And I know Coach Q and the team are going to be looking at that on film. So you've got a huge matchup in front of you inside the Cajundome coming up next week that the team will definitely be focused on. And we will be keeping our eyes on that one as well. Also, the women's basketball team, shout out to them. We'll briefly talk about that. We're able to pick up a victory in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge, beating Akron 82-71. It was a wire-to-wire victory for the Cajuns. A very bad season, if we're being brutally honest. It's been a bad season for them overall. They're currently with their overall record, they are 3-21 on the season, 1-12 in conference play. They've had multiple losing streaks. They've lost by double digits in almost every way that you could think of. And this victory was able to snap a 4-game losing streak after they won that game against Coastal Carolina back in late January, which was their first conference win. But ultimately, a win is a win. It doesn't matter that it's not in conference play. A win is a win. And that is going to boost this team's confidence regardless, because now they've seen we can still win games. We haven't been able to do it when it matters in conference, but we can still win games. We have the capability to do it. And ultimately, you're not wanting to say that the team or that the season is over, but in the back of a lot of the coaches' mind, I'm almost certain their eyes are slowly starting to shift to say, let's finish this season as strong as we can and then shift our focus to the end of the 2026 calendar year, which would be the 26-27 basketball season. In this game, Imani Daniel and Amijah Price were your leading scorers. Both of them are freshmen, so that is your future. Imani Daniel had 21 points and 1 rebound. She was 8 of 10 from the floor. So shooting 80% from the floor is a great feat. She had 2 steals that she contributed to that as well. Amijah Price continues her hot streak of just being a prolific scorer for your team. She had 16 points. And she also had 11 rebounds. 10 of them were on the defensive end. So she had a double-double. She didn't have the best shooting night, but she was 7 of 9 from the free throw line, but she simply was able to get you points, which is what you needed to be able to win this game. Bianca Silva had 11 points. Michaela Manley did not start, but she came off the bench and gave you 13. And Lily Ba had what I believed was a season high with 11 points coming off the bench as well. She was 5 of 7 and hit a 3-pointer in the game as well. So kudos to the ladies basketball team, and then obviously Quantis White and his Ragin Cajuns getting the job done as well in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. So Hoops did a really, really good job, but I'm going to take a timeout really quick. And when I come back, we're going to talk about what softball was able to do to round out the Louisiana Classic on Saturday when we come back here on Ragin Rundown. We'll round out the show talking about Louisiana softball, who swept opening day, starting the season 2-0. And then here on Saturday, as of me recording this episode, here at about 9:57, things would be split for them. Their first game against North Texas, they would beat them 10-5. And then the second game against Jacksonville State, they would suffer their first loss in a 9-7 loss. So let's go over the game flow of the first game, where the Cajuns took on the Mean Green. Lexi Dobre got the start once again in the circle. The first 2 innings, were really close, but it would remain scoreless. And then North Texas would strike first there in the third. They took a 2-0 lead that forced UL to go to the bullpen and put in Sage Hoover. Louisiana got hot once again, similar to the other 2 games that they had, and they were able to have a 4-run inning in the third. Mia Lascano reached and then eventually stole home. And then Lily Knox launched a 3-run homer that now made it a 4-2 game. UNT would get back and make a RBI single to cut it 4-3. Louisiana responded once again. Brooke Otto hits a solo home run. Deja Williams adds an RBI single. So Louisiana reasserts their control, now 6-3. It was back and forth in the 5th, as UNT would hit a 2-run homer to make it 6-5. And then Brooke Otto delivered again with an RBI double that made it 7-5. And then kind of the knockout punch for Louisiana came there in the 6th. Emily Smith hit a 2-run homer. Lily Knox added an RBI double later in the inning, so that would be a 3-run frame, and that would make it 10-5. Bailey Mackles would make her first career appearance, and she would retire North Texas in order to close the game out there in the 7th inning. So you were able to have some power hitting once again, you were able to showcase your ability to hit. And there is without a shadow of a doubt that this is not the same team that you had in 2025. These girls can hit and they can get it done in multiple ways, and multiple players can be able to do it. And you didn't even play every single player here in opening weekend. You're still talking about Sis Vasquez that was out due to concussion protocol. Aaron Ardwin as well. That's more of a slapper type of hitter, but someone that can get on base as well. Got some spurts and playing in the game, but not nearly as much as what she did last season. So you haven't even tapped deep into what else you could have in your lineup. But the lineup that you used throughout this weekend was very, very talented in the way that they were able to drive in runs. Emily Smith continued to be clutch. Lily Knox, just as impressive as what we expected from what we saw in the fan day scrimmage. But the main thing, obviously, is trying to figure out things within the circle very early on. Obviously, Lexi gets to start once again, but you have to go and get her very early on. And it was because of the sequence of how things went very early. There in the first, they fly out, she walks a batter, and then she gets a punch out, and then she forces a ground out. There in the second, then they ground out, pop up, ground out again. And then in the third was where they eventually would go and replace her with Sage Hoover in relief, a single. She line out there to third, and then a single. And then that's when Sage Hoover would come in for Lexi Delbray. So obviously you're going to continue to be able to hit the ball well, but you want to be able to have your circle to throw more strikeouts, to put you in a position where you're not having to see who can have better bats every single game. That's not the world that you want to live in. You want to be able to win in different ways instead of it always being, all right, guys, let's go in. We got to go score 3 runs in this inning, 4 runs in this inning. And I think that particular issue is what happened there in the second game against Jacksonville State. And in that game, the Gamecocks struck first. They would get on the board first, scoring a run. And then after that, Louisiana scores 3 runs. Kennedy Marceau had a homer, a 2-run homer. Haley Hart continues to be money. She hits a home run. And by the way, Louisiana hit 10 home runs in the first 4 games of the season. They hit 22 all last season, and 12 of them were from Emily Smith. So again, this is not going to be the same type of lineup or the same style as what you saw last season. There in the top of the second, Jacksonville State scored 2 more runs. Louisiana did not score until the bottom of the third, again, where the bases would be loaded and the pitcher would walk in a run where Kennedy Marceau would come in from third, Then after that, Jacksonville State scored 2 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. Louisiana didn't respond. And then they scored another run in the 7th. There in the 6th inning, they had a 2-run homer there. And then in the 7th, they also were able to score a run. Louisiana battled to the very end, the bitter end. Madison Manning hit a 3-run homer as they were down at 1.9-4. And she hits that 3-run homer to put them in position to potentially do it again, like what they did the night before with Lily Knox hitting a walk-off. But ultimately, they weren't able to do it. They were already down in a 2-out rally situation, and they just weren't able to get it done. From this game, you had a lot of instances where you kind of left some meat on the bone. You left 7 runners on base, and then there were 2 instances where you had the bases loaded and you struck out both times. There in the 3rd and then in the 5th inning as well. Those 2 instances completely flips the game on its head if you're able to drive in those runs. And then you had 2 errors in instances as well. From the bullpen in this one, Julianne Tipton would get the start for the Cajuns on the night. And obviously she had pitched against the Gamecocks the night before. And so they had an opportunity to be able to adjust to her pitches because they had already seen it. She went 3 and 1/3. She allowed 5 hits, 2 earned runs. She had 3 walks and 3 punch outs. After that, Bailey Mackles comes in, and then Sage Hoover comes in as well in the game. So again, the pitching was something that you dealt with early on as well, but the overall thing in this one was you were in a situation where you had opportunities to kind of respond a lot, and you weren't necessarily able to do it because you left the bases loaded. You left some players, some runners on base, and that ultimately, caused this game to be a 2-run loss for you in this one. So Louisiana drops to 3-1 on the season, but like I said, this team is going to be able to hit. There's no doubt about it. Now, all they have to do is continue to play solid defense, to not have that many errors. You had 2 in this loss to Jacksonville State, but to keep that number as low as possible and ultimately get your pitchers built up in confidence to throw strikeouts and get teams out of their lineup and keep them uncomfortable in so many situations. Force them that when they are getting hits on it, that it's a pop-up, that it's a ground out, that they're not getting easy hits and are able to load the bases up and are able to score runs so effectively as they were able to over this weekend. So Louisiana drops to 3-1 on the season. You're still in a better position than what you were to start off last season, but you are 3-1. And so next weekend, you now will have the Ragin Cajuns Invitational, and you welcome in Ole Miss. You have Ole Miss, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Ole Miss again, Prairie View A&M, and then Texas A&M Corpus Christi once again on Sunday. So this is going to be your first early test. Obviously, you've already suffered a loss, but this is going to be your first early test of how good you really can be this season. You're going to be going against a team that's playing in the SEC, that's going to play a lot of talented programs throughout the season, and you're going to have a chance to play some very talented programs throughout the year as well. And this is your first early test for that. Ole Miss is 3-2 to start off the season. They suffered their first loss that they suffered was on opening day against Cal State Fullerton. They lost 5-4, and then they beat Cal State Fullerton 11-9 in that doubleheader. They played CSUN and beat them 13-1 in 5 innings. They lost to Boise State and then beat CSUN. Again, I don't know what school that is, but that's how it's listed on their schedule. They beat them 10-1 in 6. So this is a team that's already proven that they can score a lot of runs as well. Again, that is not the world that you want to live in, that every single inning you're saying, all right, girls, we got to battle back and we got to go score 3 runs. It's good that you can be able to do that, because there are going to be instances where you're going to have to go and do that, but you don't necessarily want to have to do that every single game. So that's what Louisiana softball has up ahead. 1 game away from UL Athletics sweeping the day fully, but it was still very good for the Ragin Cajuns across the board in the win column for their sports teams. So that's going to wrap up this episode here on Ragin Rundown. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you've made it to this point in the video, please do me a favor, hit that like button, share this video, and drop a comment down below, because it helps to grow the channel. And also, I love interacting with you guys as well. And this will allow us to get this content in front of more Ragin Cajun fans just like yourself. If you're listening, go ahead and follow the feed, rate the show, and leave us a review so you know when we're dropping episodes here on Ragin Rundown. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time.